Welcome back to Genshin Impact. If it's been months or even years since you last played, Mondstadt might feel like a distant memory, a starter area you rushed through before putting the game down. But story-wise, a lot of important foundations were laid here, and they matter more than they first appeared. So let's rewind and walk through Mondstadt properly. Your arrival and the meaning of freedom. The story begins with you, the traveler, arriving in the world of Teyvat while searching for your lost sibling. You quickly meet Paimon, who becomes your guide, translator, emotional support mascot, and constant source of commentary. Mondstadt is the first nation you encounter. It worships the Anemo Archon, the god of wind, and prides itself on being the city of freedom. Unlike other nations you'll later visit, Mondstadt doesn't have a god actively ruling it. Humans run the city themselves through the Knights of Favonius.
At first, this sounds ideal, but it turns out freedom doesn't automatically mean stability. Stormterror, from guardian to threat. Almost immediately, Mondstadt is attacked by a massive dragon named Stormterror, also known as Dvalin. These attacks cause violent windstorms, damage trade routes, and put civilians at risk. During one of these attacks, you help defend the city, which draws the attention of the Knights of Favonius. You're brought inside their headquarters and formally introduced to Mondstadt's leadership. Key figures include Jean, the acting Grand Master, who is overworked, self-sacrificing, and carrying the weight of the entire city. Kea, a charming cavalry captain who always seems to know more than he lets on. Lisa, the librarian, whose laziness hides her terrifying magical talent. Amber, an outrider who becomes your first real friend and guide. They explain that Stormterror was once one of the Four Winds, legendary protectors of Mondstadt. He isn't supposed to be an enemy, which makes his attacks deeply troubling. Venti enters the story. While investigating Stormterror, you meet Venti, a carefree bard who spends most of his time drinking, singing, and avoiding responsibility. Despite his goofy behavior, he shows a strange emotional connection to Dvalin and seems to understand ancient Mondstadt history far better than he should. Venti reveals that Dvalin isn't evil, he's suffering. Long ago, Dvalin fought alongside Barbatos to protect Mondstadt. But over centuries, humans grew fearful of him, and Dvalin became isolated. When he was later wounded while defending the city, the Abyss Order exploited his pain and resentment, corrupting him. This reframes Stormterror entirely. He isn't a rampaging monster, but a lonely guardian who feels betrayed. The Abyss Order and the bigger picture. As you investigate Stormterror's corruption, you repeatedly clash with the Abyss Order, a faction of monsters who actively oppose gods and human civilization. They aren't mindless enemies. They have plans, leadership, and ideology. Eventually, you encounter their leader. And that's when the story pulls the rug out from under you. The leader of the Abyss Order is revealed to be your missing sibling. They tell you that the gods of this world cannot be trusted, that the truth of Teyvat is far darker than it appears, and that you need to travel the world and see it for yourself before choosing a side. Then, they leave. This moment changes the entire direction of the story. Your goal is no longer just reunion, it's understanding who is right and whether the gods truly deserve worship. Venti's true identity. As the crisis escalates, Venti finally drops the act. He reveals that he is actually Barbatos, the Anemo Archon himself. Unlike other gods, Barbatos believes that true freedom means not ruling at all. After helping Mondstadt overthrow a tyrant long ago, he stepped back and let humans govern themselves. The Knights of Favonius exist precisely because Barbatos refused to become a king. But this philosophy had consequences. By staying distant, Barbatos failed to notice Dvalin's suffering, and now the city he loves is paying the price.
Saving, not slaying a dragon. The knights initially believe Stormterror must be defeated by force. Venti argues against this. Killing Dvalin would only repeat the mistakes of the past. Instead, the group forms a plan to purify Dvalin's corruption by confronting him directly and severing the Abyss Order's influence. This leads you across Mondstadt, recovering artifacts tied to its history, and eventually entering Stormterror's lair, an ancient ruin tied to the city's forgotten past. The location itself reflects Mondstadt's themes: abandoned, broken, and shaped by choices made long ago. The final confrontation. You face Dvalin in an aerial battle high above Mondstadt. Rather than killing him, you break the abyssal corruption infecting his body. Once freed, Dvalin finally recognizes Venti as Barbatos and realizes that Mondstadt never truly abandoned him. It simply forgot how to reach him. Dvalin leaves to heal, choosing once again to watch over the land from afar. Mondstadt is saved not through domination, but through empathy, perfectly aligning with its core belief in freedom. The Fatui strike. Just as peace returns, the real long-term threat reveals itself. The Fatui, a powerful organization from the northern nation of Snezhnaya, step in. They serve the Anemo Archon, known as the Tsaritsa, and operate through elite agents called Harbingers. One of them, La Senora, confronts Venti directly. In a brutal and sudden moment, she overwhelms him and steals his gnosis, the divine core that connects an Archon to Celestia and grants their authority. Venti barely resists. What's unsettling is that he almost seems to accept it. This scene establishes a massive overarching plot. The Fatui are systematically collecting the gnosis of the gods, and whatever they're planning threatens the entire world. What Mondstadt was really teaching you. Looking back, Mondstadt wasn't just a beginner region, it was a philosophical introduction to Teyvat. It asked questions like, is freedom worth the risk of chaos? Are gods truly benevolent? Can good intentions still lead to suffering? Who decides what justice really is? It also quietly set up future conflicts: the Abyss Order's war against the gods, the Fatui's aggressive manipulation of divine power, your sibling's growing role as a revolutionary figure. Where you stand now. By the time you leave Mondstadt, you've saved a nation, met an Archon who refuses to rule, learned your sibling is alive, and opposed to the gods. Discovered that Teyvat's biggest threats are ideological, not just physical. Mondstadt ends peacefully, but with the clear message that peace won't last. And everything that follows, Liyue's contracts, Inazuma's eternity, Sumeru's knowledge, builds on the questions Mondstadt first asked.